Hi, I'm glad you're here for a little while. While my hands are busy with needle and thread, three forest beings are slowly arriving: a girl in a bear hood, a bird named Sirin, and a fox wrapped in rose-colored stitches. You'll see them growing in the frame: fabric, beads, long strands of yarn. Between those quiet movements, let me tell you who they are. The first to step out of the cloth is the bear girl. Her body is long and a little strange, somewhere between a doll and a small totem. She wears a heavy hood shaped like a bear's head, all russet and mossy, with tiny red flowers sewn into the fur, as if berries have decided to live there permanently. Under the hood, there is a human face: flushed cheeks, red lacquered nose, eyes that look as if they've seen more winters than her years allow. Her braids spill down like two ropes of earth. They end where the forest on her dress begins. On the fabric of her body, mushrooms grow in bright patches: foxfire and fly agaric. There are roots, paw prints, fragments of leaves. If you follow the patterns with your eyes, you'll notice something else: a darker shape, half hidden, the muzzle of a bear, watching from within the print, as if the hood is not the only bear she carries. As I stitch around the edges, I think of what sort of life could shape a girl like this. In the story I'm sewing for her, she was born in a village pressed close against the forest, the kind of place where children are warned not to go beyond the last fence, not because the forest is evil, but because it is large and people are small, and fear is easier to teach than respect. The girl was small and stubborn. When she cried, she did it silently. And when she laughed, it was almost soundless too, like the noise snow makes when it falls on more snow. One winter, she followed a trail of paw prints past the last house. The adults were busy, the day was short, and the shadows between the trees opened like a second world. She walked deeper and deeper, copying the bear's steps with her own smaller ones, until the village disappeared behind the trunks. By the time she realized she was lost, evening had already turned the snow to gray. The cold climbed her legs like a slow animal. That was when the real bear appeared. Not a storybook monster, just a huge old creature with scars under its fur and bits of twig tangled in its coat. The girl did what any reasonable child would do when meeting a wild animal close enough to see its breath. She froze and tried not to breathe at all. The bear looked at her for a long time. Then, very carefully, it turned around and walked 3 steps away, stopped, looked back. If you've ever had a cat or dog who wanted you to follow them, you know that look. The girl followed. The bear led her through the gathering dark, past familiar tree trunks she had never properly seen before, each with its own map of moss and lichen. Owls shifted in the branches above. Somewhere far away, a fox barked, sharp and thin as a crack in ice. Eventually, between two birches, the village lights appeared again like a row of fallen stars. The bear stopped there. It could have gone further, but didn't. Instead, it lowered its head until its huge nose touched the girl's forehead. For a second, the air smelled of wet fur, old leaves, and something else, a thick, deep quiet that did not belong to houses and fences. Then the bear turned and went back into the woods. The girl did find her way home, of course. They wrapped her in blankets and scolded her and cried a little when she wasn't looking. But from that day on, the forest never sat outside her life again. It moved inside, behind her ribs, into her dreams. She grew older. People forgot the story. She didn't. On difficult days when kindness was scarce and noise was too loud, she would close her eyes and search for that calm, heavy fragrance of fur and moss inside herself. When she found it, her breathing slowed. The older she became, the more she noticed that the world is full of lost things. Children, adults, ideas, small, brave decisions that never quite happen. Somewhere between all that, the memory of the bear began to feel like a responsibility. In my version of the tale, the bear girl finally made herself a hood shaped like the head that once bent over her. It wasn't made from a real animal. It grew from her own hands, from wool and thread and beads, from the wish to honor what had helped her. When she put it on, she didn't become less human. She just remembered how much space there is inside her for both courage and fear. Now she walks on the edge of villages and forests, quietly watching paths where the ground is thin with worry. When someone strays too far in the wrong direction, not the wild path, but the one that leads away from themselves, she shows up in odd ways. Sometimes it's just a sense that you should turn left instead of right. Sometimes it's that strange calm that arrives in your chest for no reason you can name. In those moments, it might be the bear in her hood that is paying attention for you. As I sew the last beads on her chest, tiny red sparks like winter berries, I think of her standing at your shoulder on days when you feel very small. Not to push, not to drag you anywhere, just to lean her warm weight against your back and remind you that your spine is there, that you are allowed to take up space. When she is finished, she will not roar. She'll just hang on a wall or rest on a shelf, expression soft and serious, half girl, half forest, a quiet promise that being gentle does not mean being weak. Another shape appears in my hands, smaller, more compact, like a seed that decided it wanted to be a bird. This is Sirin. Her body is stitched from dark, night-colored fabric. Roses and round motifs curl across it like little planets. Beads edge her wings in quiet constellations. Her face is that of a girl who has cried and laughed often enough to trust both. In old stories, Sirin's song makes people forget the world. My Sirin does the opposite. She lives on high branches, chimney tops, and telephone wires, watching windows turn into rectangles of light. She listens for the sentences people never quite finish. I wish I could. If only I dared. Someday, when I'm less tired. Those half-spoken phrases rise like steam from tea, and she tucks them under her feathers, one fragment per feather, until her whole body rustles with almost voices. On soft evenings, Sirin loosens a few of them. You might be washing dishes when the urge returns to open your sketchbook, or sitting on a late bus when you suddenly remember a friend you meant to call. A half-forgotten melody might slip back into your throat. From the outside, it looks like mood or coincidence. From Sirin's side, it's simply the right time. As I embroider the spiral on her wing, in and out, I picture her near anyone who has gone quiet inside. Her song is less a sound than a vibration in the chest. She doesn't promise that every dream will come true. She only keeps them from vanishing. When the last bead is sewn and the thread is hidden, she's still on my table, yet in my mind she already glides over roofs, scattering remembered wishes like silver seeds. If, while you watch, an old idea wakes up and stretches, it might be her shadow passing over. Now all three are here on the table. The bear girl with her heavy hood, Sirin with her listening wings, the fox wrapped in rose-bright stitches. They don't really match, but together they feel like a tiny council. In my head, they meet sometimes in a quiet forest clearing, trading news about whose shoulder was needed, whose forgotten melody came back, where one small decision quietly changed a life. Soon they'll leave this room in boxes and paper and end up wherever they are invited, on a wall, by a lamp, on a bookshelf. Wherever they land, I like to think they'll keep doing what they were made for, standing beside your fear, guarding your old wishes, and nudging you, very gently, toward the next small, brave step. Thank you for spending this time with me and these 3 odd creatures. If any part of their story has brushed against your own, maybe you recognized a bear moment, or a Sirin memory, or a fox spark of change, I'm glad our paths crossed for a little while. I hope the rest of your day has at least one patch of quiet, one small remembered dream, and one brave, curious step. And if you ever feel like visiting again to see who appears on the table next time, you'll always be welcome here.